On behalf of our university leadership, please let me be among one of the first at FAU to offer you a congratulations on your admission to Florida Atlantic University. We've been looking forward to this event all week. Each morning when I've been getting my clothes out of the closet, I've looked at the FAU red shirt I'm wearing and said to myself, not until Friday. And I'm not quite sure of the camera quality, but this is a blue jacket. So if you want to join along with me and learn an FAU cheer, we have red, blue, FAU. Tomorrow is our spring game, so I, along with many here, are getting ready. It has been too long since we have been in FAU Stadium. The past few weeks at FAU has brought exciting news as we are planning our first in-person commencement in over a year, and the knowledge that if things keep moving according to plan, pending our CDC guidance, we will finally be able to welcome in person all of our first-year students and the rising sophomores that haven't yet been to campus. Today is about choosing FAU, and your attendance here lets us know that you already chose FAU or that you are considering choosing FAU. Either way, we are excited about the possibility of you joining us in summer or fall. I serve Florida Atlantic as the Interim Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. Our role, or our why, as we like to say at FAU, is to engage you from the point of high school through the collegiate experience and culminating in graduation and a plan post-graduation, whether that be graduate school or a job. And when you return for new student orientation, you will hear me say this again. So here you are, most of you high school seniors getting ready to make one of the most important decisions of your life. I say this not to overwhelm you or to make you anxious, but rather to let you know that it is important to listen and learn today so that you know whether or not FAU is for you. And while we sincerely hope that you will choose us, this is a partnership. We already know that we want you. We want you to know that you want us. Embarking on this collegiate experience is an exciting and anxious time for our prospective students and for their family and friends who may be supporting them through this journey. Given the uncertainty of the past year, many of your questions may be about what to expect on campus this summer and fall. While we cannot know for certain what the CDC guidelines will recommend, we are very hopeful that with vaccine distribution, the continuation of wearing masks, and social distancing, that FAU will be ramping up our in-person engagement on campus for the summer and for fall, and then for the following spring. We do know that new student orientation for those of you that are starting in summer 3 will be completely virtual. We know that instruction for those that are starting in summer 3 will be what we call high flex, which means that some courses will be completely self-directed while others will be live lecture, which allows for a similar situation to what you may be coming out of in high school. We hope that fall will look very similar to fall 2019 and the beginning of spring of 2020. All of us in the state and the state university system, and probably throughout the country, are sharing that hope. This fall, we are planning for a much more traditional semester. While FAU has always offered online courses, the vast majority of our courses should be in person. We expect that the faculty and staff will fully return to our campuses so that we can ensure that all FAU students have an engaging college experience. We are actively planning for our residence hall move-in, first-year convocation, our OWL-involved student organization fair, weeks of welcoming programming, our annual bonfire, and FAU athletics. There is excitement surrounding the recent addition of our esports arena, and we have added a number of outdoor seating areas on our campus. You're going to hear a lot of information today, and it can be very challenging in a virtual setting to be focused. But as I mentioned earlier, this is an important decision. So do your best to limit the number of background distractions, take out a pen or pencil and a paper to write down your thoughts, and more importantly, your questions. Write down our names and the offices of the people you hear from, knowing that each person you hear from today views your success as their success, and collectively our shared success. Start to work through your plan of what you want to do once you arrive here. And most importantly, try and end the day with all of your questions answered so that you are ready to make the decision to choose FAU. Finally, even though we are virtual today, we anxiously await the opportunity to see you and meet you in person. I wish you a wonderful visit with us. And now I have the pleasure of introducing my colleague, Joelle Vanderhorst, who serves as the Director of First Year Admissions at Florida Atlantic. Go Owls!
Thank you, Dr. Furman, for the introduction and wonderful remarks. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to Choose FAU and the OwlDone panel. My name is Joelle Vanderhorst, and I serve Florida Atlantic University as the Director of Admissions for our Honors College up on the Jupiter campus, as well as Director of First Year Recruitment on our Boca Raton campus. Today, however, I will be your moderator and very much look forward to introducing our panelists momentarily. But first things first, I would like to start by saying a big congratulations to all of my admitted students this morning who are joining this virtual opportunity. We are very excited. We're very thankful that you're here with us. We have valuable information to share with you, but we're also very eager to hear your questions. So before we get started, what is this OwlDone panel? Now, as an admitted student, you now have access to a student portal called OwlDone, and you'll continue to learn about it throughout this session. And many of the topics that we're going to be covering today start right there. So as Dr. Furman just mentioned, make sure that you grab a pen and paper and take notes on the website. So that'll be your first note, perhaps. OwlDone, so that's owl for our mascot, FAU Owls, and Done, D-O-N-E. So the website is owldone.fau.edu. We're going to be here to help you and guide you throughout these processes and look forward to our interactions this morning. So for the panel today, this is an opportunity for you to engage with key areas of the university that ensure a seamless transition as you navigate your onboarding process. So you'll be interacting with some of my colleagues from Housing and Residential Education, University Advising, the Career Center, and New Student Transition and Family Engagement. And I just have a couple of housekeeping items that I would like to share with you very briefly. If you are curious about the itinerary, I promise you are in the right place, and we'll make sure to guide you to the next location following the panel, which should take us close to 10 a.m. this morning. Then you'll have an opportunity to engage with schools and colleges starting right after the panel at 10. I encourage questions via the chat, which should become available momentarily. If after I introduce the panelists, you do not see the chat, please make sure that you're refreshing the website and it should be there for you right after. If for whatever reason you have a question this morning that is not covered throughout the panel, please know that we're here to help. So we want to make sure that by the end of our program this morning, your questions are answered and that you take care of business. So I encourage you very much so to stay with us throughout the entirety of the program. So having said that, at this point, I would like to introduce our panelists. And as you come in, if you could please tell us who you are, your role at the university, and really anything else that you'd like to share with us. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I would like to bring up my colleague from University Advising Services, Mr. Joe Murray.
Morning. So name is Joe Murray. I'm the Assistant Dean in charge of University Advising Services here at FAU. What probably the most important part of that for you all is that it's my staff that will be interacting with you as you get ready to take your courses for the summer and this upcoming fall. We work with students through roughly your first 45 credit hours, and you'll be going through our Easy Advising onboarding portal, which we'll talk a little bit more about here in a few minutes. Maybe one other piece of information that I'd like to share with you all is not only do I have my professional hat on with my position here, but I'm also a parent. Both my children graduated from FAU just recently, and actually my son went through the pre-law program here and is just completing his first year in law, and my daughter now is teaching for the local school system. So very excited, very proud, and they're doing great, and look forward to sharing our expertise for you all to be successful here as well. And with that, let me hand the mic over to Catherine Coleman.
Good morning, all future owls. My name is Catherine Kelman. I'm the Director for Housing and Residential Education. And on behalf of all of my professional and student staff, I'm so excited to have you here for the panel today. First, I want to just welcome you to our housing program, where we are committed for you to engage in our FAU pride, develop all your great academic skills as well as intercultural skills, and to engage and explore what FAU has to offer. Well, you'll learn a little bit more about how you make FAU your home through our programming as well as our department. But I want to go to my colleague from the Career Center, Brian.
Thanks, Catherine. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Montalvo, and I serve FAU as the Senior Director of our FAU Career Center. And this morning, I'm here to talk with the group about a program we call Major Knowledge, or answer any questions about career services, internship, or how we approach the career development process. Similar to Joe, I am a dad of 2 owls. The only difference is mine don't know it yet. They'll be enrolling in 2029 and 2034 respectively. So with that, I'm going to pass the virtual microphone to my good friend and colleague, Dr. Katie Burke.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to the OWL family. Like Brian said, my name is Dr. Katie Burke. I serve FAU as the Executive Director for New Student Transitions and Family Engagement. What is most important from my area for you as you start your OWL journey is new student orientation. So I'm really excited to share a lot of information with you about that and how we're going to start you strong at this amazing place. A big important thing about me is I am also FAU alumna. I have 4 degrees from this institution, and as a first-generation college student, I can tell you that this place has transformed my life, and now I'm so honored to give back to it in this role. I also teach in the College of Education, and being with our students is one of the happiest things that I do in my life. So welcome students, welcome families. We are pumped to get you started strong at FAU. Joelle?
Thank you, Dr. Burke, and thank you to all of our panelists. Welcome. As a reminder to all of our participants this morning, please make sure that you're dropping your questions in the chat, and if you don't see them, make sure that you're refreshing so we can also begin to see those coming from your end. Now, Dr. Burke, I would like to start with you. You talked about orientation briefly, but I know when our students log into that OwlDone portal, they're going to see SOAR. And can you maybe expand, maybe describe what SOAR is and share a little more information about it?
I would love to. Absolutely. So SOAR is Student Orientation, Academics, and Resources. It is your first program at FAU that gets you kickstarted to learn all about what we have to offer you in this community and how you can maximize your experience here. So our students and families that are starting in the summer, Dr. Fairman mentioned earlier, we will be hosting your SOAR program totally online. We have 3 phases for our orientation experience. The first phase is a virtual orientation through our Canvas, which is a learning management system that we use at FAU to house your courses, submit assignments. So we're going to put you in that system right away, help get you acclimated, and you'll complete certain modules that give you information to make sure you have all the resources you need at FAU. The next phase, phase 2, is one of my favorites. It's orientation day. So again, for our summer starting students, they will begin in an environment very much like this. We'll do a live synchronous event where we have our orientation leaders, we have staff from across the university to begin to form those relationships and make sure you know all about your next steps. We will have the colleges be involved, hence the academics portion of our experience. They will be with you for that day. And then the third phase is our How to FAU extended orientation. That is just-in-time information the Saturday right before classes start. So for our summer starting students, again, we'll engage like this. We'll do a live event, more information to come for that Saturday right before summer 3. For our fall starting students, we offer a little bit of variation for the second and third phases. So for phase 2, orientation day, our fall starting students and families have the opportunity to choose between 2 options. You can do the live virtual experience, again, very similar to this, Or you can come to campus for 2 days dedicated to making sure you know about everything we have here at FAU. And so you can find your why, as Dr. Fairman also mentioned, and align your experiences with that purpose. So those are 2 days. Those are back to back. Again, we have a family portion of that program as well. And you can sign up for either option through your OwlDone portal. The third phase for our fall starting students is, again, that How to FAU experience, the Saturday right before classes start. That is a big, important weekend for us at FAU. It's committed to just-in-time information sharing, getting you to campus, getting you to explore all of the things that are about to kick off for you. So our summer start students actually come to that fall How to FAU as well. So make sure you hold that weekend right before fall classes start. The Saturday will be How to FAU, and then Sunday will be freshman convocation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Berg. And you mentioned what a wonderful opportunity for students, for guests, for families to really meet each other and also interact with the FAU community. While at the same time taking care of that business that we're going to be talking about, right? So let me ask you now, Catherine. Let's go on and move on to housing topics. Are all first-time in college students required to live on campus?
So first, I'm going to start with talking about my Wilkes Honors College students. So any Wilkes Honors first-time in college students will be required to live on campus for 2 years. And that's because we have a residential college in Wilkes Honors College. So you're immersed in the academic experience by having faculty engagement. And so those 2 first years really get you sound in all of the great resources that Katie's team really starts with at your SOAR for your first year. For our Boca Raton actual campus, we do have our first time in college students are required to live on campus if they are greater than 30 miles from our Boca campus. And so that will be vitally important. If you're unsure exactly if you are exactly 30 miles away or not, you can always call the housing office. We're happy to help and figure out exactly your true distance. But if you are greater than 30, then you would be required. If you're within 30, you can still apply, but you would not have a priority of housing, and you would have to wait until we've housed all of our students. If you are seeking an exemption for any reason, that exemption for our fall term would need to be in by July 1st. But we're excited to have all of our students.
Perfect. Thank you, Catherine. And as a reminder, because I know housing is in the minds of many, just like housing, just like orientation, which are 2 topics that have been very briefly covered so far, these are things that as an admitted student, you can do right now in your OwlDone portal. So make sure that you're interacting with it once that tuition deposit is received. These are things that you can do right away. Before I move on to Joe, just wanted to once again remind everyone, we're live, so we want to hear your questions. This is for all the students and guests that are joining us this morning. And once again, for whatever reason you're not seeing that chat, I see a couple of questions that are already coming in. Make sure that you're refreshing so you can, of course, ask your questions. We want to make sure that we answer those. So let's move on to a topic that has been very active this past week. And Joe, it's on your end regarding advising. Before we get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty, if you will, could you please explain how the advising process works at FAU, and also what is the difference between advising and registration?
Sure. So the advising process at FAU, actually, I think we're very proud of, and it sets us apart from most other universities in the country, actually. Most universities will do the academic advising, which is the conversation part of you telling us your interests and your passions and what you want to do, majors, all those types of things. And then the registration is actually physically signing up for those courses, right? So most universities will do both those things at orientation, at Katie's program. We do not do that here, because what happens is your schedule, if that's the model that an institution uses, your schedule becomes a function of when you can actually attend orientation. And which means if you don't go to orientation until August, you can imagine the choices you're going to have or not have, as the case may be, in terms of the courses, faculty, times, all those types of things. That's why we do not do that here. So what we use here is something called Easy Advising. It is off the portal, off of the OwlDone portal, which we've been talking about. And basically, that allows you to start your advising process literally right now. It opened Monday, so it is open and ready to go. So students, we've already had, I think, close to 400 students who have submitted their easy advising. The other thing that sets us apart in this process is that easy advising process assigns you your personal academic advisor for the next 2 years. So once you submit that, you will then have an advisor, and then that will begin the dialogue that you can ask questions, you can get clarification, you can get help. All those things will flow from that. So that is probably the next most important thing you can do as you get ready to go with this. Registration, as Joel had said, the registration, actual sign up for courses, is not easy advising. That's just the advising piece of it. Registration, and let me make sure I get this date, opens on April 12th. So it's coming up, but it will be open from April 12th all the way until August. So the ball is in your court. The quicker you get through this process and get all your other holds off, you can register for courses and you get your perfect schedule that you want. The longer you wait, then the less choices you will have. So that's really up to you all as you decide and you go through our portal process.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joe. And I know that will definitely clear things up for some of our students. And I'm seeing the questions coming in. Before I ask housing and advising questions, I want to go to you, Brian, because in your introduction, you talked about your role at the university being within Career Center, right? And these are new students. So what is the relationship here between being a new student at FAU and the Career Center? And also, I think you mentioned major knowledge. If you want to maybe expand on that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joe. That's actually a great question, and I'm going to agree and echo some of what Joe said in terms of FAU really approaching things in a kind of unique and really proactive way. At the FAU Career Center, we serve all students from day one through graduation to graduate school and even as alumni. The program I mentioned, it's called Major Knowledge, but I think to best understand major knowledge, I think it's first important to really understand how FAU approaches the career development process. So, as Joe mentioned, at FAU, we do things in a very kind of unique and proactive way. And this is very true in the career advising, career development space as well. This is different from most of the schools in the Florida state system. So, for example, we don't wait for our students to be a fourth year or a third year or second year to begin to talk with them and really ask them about their plans beyond FAU. From the beginning, we want to engage them in a conversation about their career options and their career goals. And one of the ways that we do this is through a program we call Major Knowledge. So in essence, Major Knowledge is a program we've customized for our students. It contains a career interest assessment. We tie our students' interests to occupations and majors as well as the world of work. And I'll be clear, this does not select the major for our students as they determine that on their own. But getting this kind of information, working with Joe's team, really helps them to make an informed choice about their major. So for us, it's critical. It's so important that our students from day one begin to think and plan long term. So the assessment takes 6 to 8 minutes to complete. Once they complete the assessment, we get notified they've done it, and then we invite our students in for a very important second step where we meet with them one-on-one to review their results and build out a very intentional career action plan in terms of the things they should be doing the next 4 years to be successful beyond FAU's walls.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brian. And I see a question in the chat. This is for you, Catherine, in housing. If a student lives more than 30 miles away from campus, and I guess this is a two-part question, is housing required for all 4 years? Or is it just for a freshman year? So I guess one question there.
Yep, no problem. So if you live greater than 30 miles, your first year, yes, you are required to live on campus. But I will say that we have a lot of students that start with us in that first year and they have that feeling of, oh, I'm going to go off campus. And then they realize this is a home. Like those RAs become that great resource. Oftentimes, a lot of students actually get employed by housing and residential education because we have so many different opportunities for those leaderships. And we work with Brian's office also for internships. So it's a great working relationship, and you get the opportunity to actually pick your space on your second year. So a lot of our students, they start in our first year areas, which are residential halls, and they get to select one roommate in that first year, and that deadline is coming up April 1st to be exact. So if you haven't filled out your housing application yet, please make sure that you go do that. Not right now, after all today's festivities, but make sure that you complete that, and you can select a roommate of your choice by April 1st. If not, you can also complete the lifestyle questions in our contract system, and it'll actually give you a percentage. So if, for example, and I use me and Katie as always an example, but let's say both me and Katie end up with a 75% matching, then we would be great roommates. But if, let's say, I'm 40 and she's 60, that might not be the best relationship. And if you happen not to complete the lifestyle questions, we work in our best to connect students based on some of the different factors that we have. But you can actually select one roommate or suite mate for your space. And then in your second year, you'll have the opportunity to actually pick all of your roommates and suite mates. So it's a great opportunity, and we look forward to hopefully, and most of our students stay with us for the whole 4 years.
Thank you, Catherine. Now, one question that just came in regarding advising, and I know we've had some students that have recently joined us. So, Joe, I'll ask you a two-part question. And the first one, obviously, we know that advising is happening now. Could you please remind everyone when registration actually begins? And following that, well, I'll let you answer that first, and then I'll ask the second question.
Sure. So, so everybody get out. So this is the cheat sheet. Faculty is telling you this is what's going to be on the exam. So get your piece of paper out and pencil. So write these down. So April 12th is when the registration opens. So this is when you can actually go into FAU systems and pick the courses, pick the times, pick the days, pick the faculty. That's your job. That's not our advisor's job, because we don't know whether you want to get up early in the morning or whether you'd rather take evening courses. So we let you build your own schedule. So April 12th is when that opens up. Summer, if you're taking summer courses, starts June 28th. So that's when classes actually begin. And actually, technically, I think that's a Monday. We actually start the previous Saturday, but most courses are Monday. So I'm giving you the Monday start, the 28th. And then August 23rd is when the fall classes start. Okay, so April 12th, registration, June 28th, summer, and August 23rd. Let me put a big caution here. We have courses that we call sprint classes or intercession courses that start and end different times. When you're registering for courses, make sure you pay attention to the start and end times for each course, because it is possible to sign up for a class that doesn't start until September or October, or you might actually get a class that starts before August and ends before the fall classes start and don't even realize it. So pay attention to those dates in the registration system.
Thank you for all that information. And I see a lot of questions coming in regarding online classes and summer classes. And by the way, you said that so convincingly. You said, grab your pen and paper. I grabbed my pen. I was getting ready to take notes as well. So I hope my students are doing the same. The follow-up questions that I had for you, Joe, I guess it could be a combined question with housing, and it's regarding exactly that, summer classes and online options. For students that are planning on joining in the summer, can they take classes online? And then on the housing side of things, what happens there? Do they have to do multiple contracts, or they just come in the fall? So why don't we start with you, Joe, and then we'll pass it on to Catherine.
Okay, so let me start by saying that there are a variety of different, and the term we use is pathways that you come through our front door. Okay, and each of those pathways has slightly different academic requirements. So this is not housing with the pathways. We'll get to that here in a second. But academically, some of our pathways, like Jumpstart, require that you take 2 courses in the summer plus what we would call a freshman survival course, which is online. So all of those courses have the option of being either virtual online or in person. And that's that high flex that Dr. Fairman was talking about. So there will be some differences depending on the courses you actually sign up for and how the faculty are teaching those. For the fall, we are planning and are incredibly hopeful that we will be 100% live in the classrooms as it used to be, the good old days, as I say. So plan on a fall college experience as you would have seen prior to this whole COVID business starting up. So we are very excited about that possibility as we move forward. So the requirements then would be full-time in the fall, unless you're in a certain pathway that would dictate perhaps a slightly slower start because you got to get caught up. A good example would be an engineering pathway. If your math isn't where it needs to be for engineering, we start you off just a little bit slower so that your math can get caught up so that you can get into all those fun engineering courses. And by the way, I will tell you all that my undergrad is engineering, so that is absolutely critical. Math drives everything in engineering. So that's one of the reasons we do that, is to make sure that we're setting you up for success and not failure. We want you to get off to a good start. And in this case, in engineering, math is what drives that. And I'll hand this over to Catherine for the housing piece.
Thanks, Joe. So for summer, our housing application is open. However, it's not required, but we do know that students may be interested because of this high flex opportunity to live on campus and kind of get a jump start in their academic and kind of getting acclimated to campus, but they're not required. But for the fall, like I said earlier, as long as you are over and greater than 30, you would be required. If you're within 30, you would not be required. But both applications are open. They're two separate applications. So if you are going to be here for the summer, you'll need to complete the summer application and then the fall application. But there's only one deposit that you would need to complete. Please note it is a deposit. It's not a pre-amount to your actual room and board charges or any of that. So please make sure that you understand that it is a deposit. So just want to make sure that you are aware of that. But for the fall, you would be required, and for summer, it would be optional.
Thank you for all that information. Now, Brian, a question that came in the chat a little earlier. I want to make sure that we give you a chance to address it to our student. It's regarding post-graduation. So does FAU help students in any way find a job after graduation?
Yeah, excellent question. And the answer is absolutely. So we do service all of our alumni. During the COVID era, there is no fee for this. We've waived that fee. So we don't just help students build toward their future while they're with us. Every day we help alumni that come in for services, whether they graduated a year ago or they graduated in 1964. For us, an alum, once in the OWL family, always in the OWL family. So anyone out there that is seeking services from us, it's just as simple as giving us a call, looking up our information. You can also email career@fau.edu, and we would welcome the opportunity to help our alumni kind of build toward their future or the next steps in their kind of career pathway.
Thank you, Brian. And Dr. Burke, going back to an earlier question as well regarding orientation, is there a benefit in signing up for orientation? Also, is it required? And who is required to attend?
Ooh, good question. So is there a benefit? The benefits really are endless, and this is going to be an experience that you get the most out of based on what you put into it, right? So first, I would say sign up as soon as possible because dates are filling up. There are options available right now for the in-person sessions for our fall starting students, but due to space limitations and capacity constraints that we're working through with our COVID safety precautions, the events are capped a little bit smaller than a usual summer right now. That could change. I say all of that to say, go in the OwlDone portal and reserve your orientation session. Pick the dates that you want. When you reserve your orientation session, so that means you pay for it, you select your dates, and you're totally submitted, your hold related to orientation is removed. It's an automatic process that we run once you submit that. Now, Joe has mentioned easy advising and getting your advising step done. So as soon as you can register, beginning April 12th, right, Joe? Right? We want you to get in there and register. So these holds, the one I just mentioned is orientation, that's going to prevent you from registering. So a big part of being OwlDone is getting all of those holds cleared so you can go ahead and get in your preferred schedule because classes do fill up and we want you to start with what you want to be doing, right? In the classes that you prefer timing wise. So that's the why behind signing up as soon as you can for orientation. Families sign up in the same process that students do. So students or families, they can actually reserve right along with their student through the OwlDone portal reservation process. So make sure you sign up soon, make sure you sign up early. The in-person experience, the benefits are endless. The relationships that you will begin through that experience are going to be potentially lifelong friendships. Like Kat mentioned, she and I are roommates in our minds as we talk about this. You could meet a future roommate. You could meet a future, lifelong friend. We do a bunch of intentional moments through the orientation program, both the virtual and the in-person, that set you up to create those relationships, to start you in experiences that you are looking forward to doing as a college student. So yes, orientation is full of benefits, and at FAU we've really done a lot of work with partners all around the university to make sure our students and our families start strong.
Thank you, Dr. Berg. And before we transition out, a question just came in regarding does it matter what date we sign up for orientation? So obviously there are benefits of doing things early, but is there a difference? Is there a penalty for being maybe not on the first orientation because it's filled up, for instance? I'm not saying that it is, but if it were, what happens then?
Yeah. So the benefit to what my colleague Joe also described earlier with orientation and advising not being, together, the date that you choose is totally up to you. We want you to get acclimated as soon as possible, start all of the things that you can begin to do as soon as you commit to FAU. So that's going to look different for everybody. Summer plans look different for everybody, right? So to answer your question, it doesn't matter as much. Just pick your date because, yes, actually, this summer more than ever, they will fill up. And I'm going to share an email address with you. If you run into any conflicts with the orientation reservation dates or process, you can email us at orientme@fau.edu. Again, that's orientme@fau.edu, and we'll be happy to help you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Catherine, I have what I think is a quick question for you. And it's one that came in the chat regarding when will we know which residence hall we will be staying in?
Okay, so first, we will be sending out housing assignments in the early part of June. So that's why you've heard it multiple times. Getting OwlDone is vitally important. Getting things done early is important. So we work really hard with my assignments teams to get everybody put together and having, that's why we have a due date for our roommate selection by April 1st so that we can work in those latter months of May and April to get everybody connected, put everybody into their room assignments. And then what will happen is in early and mid June, we'll start to send out housing assignments almost on a weekly basis. And so you'll start to get that communication from your FAU email, which we haven't talked about yet, but that is going to become your main line of communication. So not that Gmail or Hotmail or any other mess type of email that you have from home. That FAU email is your home base. So save it in your phone, save it in your tablet, whatever means to keep you organized. You want to be checking that email from the time that you've chosen FAU until you even graduate and even beyond, because that is going to be the mode that we are going to communicate with you. So don't look for a Gmail email, and we're not going to send it to your parents' email. We're going to send it to you. So please make sure that you check that email. So we'll be starting to send those out at that time.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, I see a lot of questions coming in regarding summer courses, online, in person. And, we've talked about advising, we've shared registration dates, but I know for a fact we have some students out there that may not be sure what they want to study. So if I may ask you, Joe, this question, what type of resources, and can you maybe expand on how university advising support entering students who may be still deciding on what they want to study?
Sure. So first of all, let me say that, and actually, if we were a little bit more live here, I would have a question for the audience. How many times is the national average for students to change their major? So you don't put it in there, but maybe just think about that for just a second. What is the national average for how many times a student changes their major? Believe it or not, the national average is 5 times. So even if you think you know what you want to do coming through our front door right now, the odds are that's going to change. And that's a good thing, because there are so many opportunities that you just don't even realize are out there. And so part of this process, and I'm going to touch on both the undecided and the process of declaring here. Anytime right now that you want to change your major, you're going to do that through the easy advising process. You do not need to get back in touch with admissions to change your application major. Okay, that's going to be done with your academic advisor. So if you want to switch from history to business, you'll have the opportunity to tell your advisor that in the easy advising process, and then we will go ahead and both take care of that. And obviously, we want to advise you towards the major in which you want to switch into. Okay, there are a couple exceptions to that. There are some majors at FAU that are restricted, which means you have to have a certain profile, if you will, or a certain set of backgrounds to get in. And I'll go back to engineering. Engineering is looking specifically for math. So if you don't have the math that's going to help you be successful, they're going to take a close look at that. So there will be some delays for math and science if you're trying to switch into those programs for admissions to review that. We will take care of all that. Okay. So with the change of major process, though, I will also tell you that don't get hung up on the title of your major. That really is not that important. It's the skill sets that you acquire within that's going to open those doors. And between both my staff, we actually have some dedicated advisors that are working with we actually call it declaring students. We don't even use the term undeclared or undecided, because every one of our students, based on that data, is deciding. So we talk about deciding students. So with my staff and with Brian over in the Career Center with Major Knowledge and the exploration that they do over there, it really is a team effort to help students to try to figure out the direction they want to go. You've got some time to do this, but it's not unlimited. You really need to get focused in by the end of your freshman year so that you stay on track for your 4-year graduation. So that's really, really important as we do this. And again, as Catherine said, if there's only a couple things you get out of this entire thing: deposit, OwlDone, and FAU email. Because let me talk about the why. We are legally not allowed to communicate with you once you become a student through any other means except for the FAU email, because I don't know who's at the other end of that. If I'm interacting with an email that's prettykitty@gmail.com, I don't know if that's you, if that's a parent, if that's a significant other. And so we're not allowed to do any of that unless it's the FAU email. So that is absolutely critical. Get in the habit of checking that daily if at all possible, but certainly weekly. And that is really, really important as we do this.
Thank you, Joe. A lot of wonderful information there. And what a great segue, because you mentioned Brian and you also mentioned career exploration. So I'm curious, Brian, if you could share with our audience today, in terms of career exploration, are there any favorite events that happen throughout the year that your office puts out, for students that you may want to share with us?
Yeah, no, sure. The list is long. I agree with Joe wholeheartedly. It's such a team approach, and our ultimate goal is that our students are making informed choices. They fully understand all the skills they're acquiring from majors and programs. They fully understand the occupations that kind of tie into that. In terms of favorite programs, there's so many that we do in collaboration with Joe's group. There's a carnival of majors where we kind of bring groups together, different colleges, so they can learn more about programs. There are obviously a lot of internship and experiential types of opportunities available, because one of the best ways to learn if you're really interested in a major or a field of study or an occupation is to kind of give it a test drive. So having the opportunity to do a job shadow or an informational interview, or even enroll in one of our career and life planning courses where you really, take a pause and start to really see yourself, not just as a student, as you've seen yourself from K through 12, but really as, in addition to seeing yourself as a student, you're seeing yourself as a professional in training and really asking those questions of what can I do? What should I do now to really help me prepare for kind of life after FAU and to become that professional I've always wanted to be. So the programs are endless. As Joe mentioned, it's a very normal process to be exploratory or declaring, and there's a lot of support and resources here to help students kind of be successful in those paths, as long as they're engaging with us in our programs and resources and services.
Thank you, Brian. And by the way, I'm loving the questions that are coming in. They're so relevant. So keep them coming. If I may go back to, these are admitted students, many still in school, taking AP courses, taking IBs, ACE, and so on. Advising obviously gets, impacts the courses that are still in progress. So Joe, may you please give us a little bit of insight as to how that's handled and the importance of submitting those documents to our offices?
Sure. So there's two things, Joel, connected to that question. From the advising perspective, the easy advising process again. So if you haven't figured out there's a trend here, easy advising is going to drive all of this. In that process, we're going to provide an opportunity for students to tell us every class, college credit, exam credit, all those things that you mentioned, you're going to self-report those to your advisor right now. And these are, I want to stress this is unofficial, because these are things that probably for most of you are still in progress, right? You haven't taken the AP exams yet. You haven't completed those dual enrollment courses yet. So you're going to tell us all these things that are either done if you took them before your senior year or in progress now. And advising, we're a very optimistic group of people. We're going to assume that you are going to pass and earn credit for everything you tell us you're taking. Period. Done. You're going to get it all. And we're going to advise to that end, which means that we're going to advise around and take into account all those courses that are currently in progress, because it's a whole lot easier if you don't get credit for something to add that course back in later. It is really problematic, both in terms of your finances and your time, if you end up taking a course again that you forgot to tell us about and you ended up getting credit for. So we want to avoid that at all costs. So we're going to have you submit all of those unofficial documents. But then the second part, Joel, of this question is, once those scores are official, once you get the final grades, the final exam scores, you've got to make sure you send those official transcripts into Joel's office, into admissions, so those can then be entered onto your official transcripts. And that is equally important, because if it's a course, let me use math again as an example. So let's say you tell us that you've got pre-calc in progress. So we're going to tell you, okay, the next course that you're going to take is going to be calculus. But you can't sign up for calculus until that pre-calc course is actually officially on your transcript, because that is a prerequisite for calculus. So you've been advised correctly, but you can't register for it until the official documents get posted. So both those things are really important as you go through this process.
Thank you. Dr. Burke, in your introduction, you talked about being an owl a few times, right? But I also know that you work with a lot of student leaders on campus, a lot of incoming students. So what advice would you give to the students that may have a little bit of butterflies in their stomach, anxiety? What advice do you give an incoming student coming into FAU?
Yeah, absolutely. How much time do we have? No, I'm just kidding. So I'll narrow it down a little bit and focus on two main things. One, make connections immediately. Two, if you need help, just ask. So making connections at FAU is something I've spent time already describing to you. We make it possible with you during the orientation program. Your orientation leaders, I can't speak more highly of this group of students. They are absolutely exceptional. Their job is to help you get acclimated to FAU. You'll be assigned an orientation leader. They'll be able to answer your questions, and that's going to be a really meaningful information exchange for you the five of us can sit up here on this panel and talk to you all day, but hearing it from a peer that's close to you in that experience is going to make all the difference. And we train them for months and months and months to get them situated to do just that. So please, as soon as you get here, find that connection point, whether it's another human, and believe me, we are a group of people who care about you here. It's one of the additional things that helps us stand out at FAU. From the faculty to staff to the students, we want to connect with you. We want to make your experience all that it can be. So don't delay, get connected to people, get connected to experiences, maybe new things you've never done before. Maybe it's joining a club just because it sounds interesting. And, you know, maybe the surf club is something you want to go out and do one weekend and meet those people and see what that's like. There's so much to do in this environment here, and trying things for the first time, as Brian and Joe have mentioned, this is an exploratory phase for all of you. College is meant to be that. It's one of those rare times in your lives that it's literally dedicated to you developing all of the skills, all of the experiences, all of the you that you can be. So definitely emphasize that. And then just really quickly, we have a campaign at FAU that we run all of our operations with, and that's if you need help, just ask. I can promise you, your degree is not going to say how many times you've asked for help. Your degree is going to have your degree on it. And I can't emphasize that enough. You're going to have people here. You're going to have resources here. Take advantage of them. You know, don't delay. And that's going to be something that's really special about this place. So definitely use us for that opportunity. If you need help, just ask from the beginning and on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Berg. And, you know, in reviewing some of the questions in the chat, I apologize, I skipped one. So if I may, just super quickly, want to bring back Joe with an advising question, and it's regarding our pathways as it relates to academic success pathway, engineering bridge, and jump. And it's, what type of classes can I expect to take this summer?
Perfect question. So actually, I think this is really important because these pathway programs, this is also something that's a little bit different at FAU. These are not developmental or review courses. So I'm going to say that again. These are not developmental or review courses. These courses are the requirements that every student has to take to graduate, period. You are taking the English, the maths, maybe a science course, or a philosophy or psychology or sociology. Those are the courses that are part of these pathways. So it's not the type of courses that are different, it's how many and how heavy a workload you are getting in that very first experience. That is the difference with the pathway. And in fact, after that very first semester, the expectation is that all students are full-time from that point forward. So that reduced load, if you're in a pathway program, is for the first term only. To get your feet wet, to make those connections, as Katie said, to really sort of figure this out. And then from that point forward, the expectation is that you're full-time. So these are academic required courses. We're just lightening the load a little bit. So instead of 5, maybe you've got 4 if you're part-time, or 3, depending on the courses. So you'll be working with your advisors to determine what that ratio looks like as you go forward.
Thank you, Joe, for that information. Catherine, we know that there's some students that maybe live very close to campus and may not have a requirement to be on campus. Could you please share the benefits, also knowing that housing is on demand? I see a new residence hall that it's opening up this fall. Can you share what are some of the benefits, and also who's going to be in the new residence hall?
So first, I mean, this class, this incoming class, you get to know this first day because it got announced actually this morning that our brand new hall is going to be called Atlantic Park Towers, continuing the Atlantic Pride. So super excited that went out today. But that building will be for our upperclassmen, mostly sophomore building. So as an incoming first year student, that may not be a building that you would be housed in. However, it has some great amenities that you'll still be able to engage in. So we'll have our Get Wise Center. And for the first time ever, our Get Wise Center will be open for the majority of the day. And so unlike our current Get Wise Center that is closed during the COVID process, but that is mostly our evening hour space for studying. Students who are within the 30 miles, if they are seeking housing, and the benefits of housing are always going to be the following. You're closer to class. You're able to engage in those resources after hours, because as a commuter, you have to get in your car and fight with traffic sometimes, right? And so you have the ability to kind of stay on campus and continue that experience after hours, I would say, with all of the great different resources. There are things that happen at night here that I will say that a lot of our students who are commuters don't experience. So for example, we have a registration night. We'll have a faculty member come into our residence hall and talk about research opportunities, practicum opportunities. We'll even have other upperclassmen come into our first year area and talk about the freshman experience that they had and how they really maximized their first year here to really be a great student leader. And so there's an opportunity there that you won't get by being a commuter student. But that doesn't mean that as a commuter, you can't engage. But being on campus does give you that 24-hour experience, but that holistic experience that you may not get by commuting to and from campus.
Perfect. Thank you. And as I'm keeping an eye on the clock this morning, I have one last question. This one goes to Dr. Berg. Dr. Berg, we spent a lot of time talking about this OwlDone student portal. So what does it mean to be OwlDone?
Well, that is why we were here this morning. So being OwlDone means that you are ready for classes at FAU. That means you're registered, you've gone through orientation, you've signed up for housing, you've done major knowledge. You have taken care of all of the things that are mentioned on this beautiful postcard that should have been hitting your mailbox, with the list on the back side of it that covers a lot of the things that you need to do. As we mentioned, your FAU email is going to be clutch in your success at the institution from the moment you start until you graduate and beyond. So use your FAU credentials, your login information, check your email, make sure that you're focused on getting OwlDone starting now as soon as you choose FAU.
Thank you very much for that information. And thank you to all of our panelists this morning. Always very informative, always very helpful. So thank you again for your time, and thanks to all of our students that are joining us. Now, next on our agenda this morning, it's the academic college presentation. So these presentations will begin right after the panel, so right now. And if you're not sure where to go, as a reminder, click on the word agenda, which will be on the navigational panel to the left of your screen, and select the academic session that you would like to attend. So with that, I would like to say thank you once again for joining us. We know that you'll enjoy the academic sessions that follow. You will also find them very informative. So we look forward to seeing you soon, and go Owls.